Welcome to UFHL Now! A close-up look at the ultimate fantasy hockey league. The most realistic fantasy gameplay. High stakes. High reward. Here's your host, the owner of Duckman's domination in the UFHL, and the mighty Mallards of the UFAHL, Dean Millard.
Hello there, and welcome to another edition of UFHL Now, the 29th edition that we have going. My name is Dean Millard, and I am the proud owner of Duckman's Domination. You can follow us on Twitter at Ducks Domination, and we are proudly broadcasting this show on the Ultimate Fantasy Sports Network. Give them a follow on Twitter at UFS Network, and if you have a fantasy show that you think would work well with us, daily, weekly, monthly, whatever, email UFSN at UFFsports.com. Of course, we'd like to say thank you to the people that make the UFHL possible. Our title sponsor, Instat. You can go to InstatScout.com and check it out, man. There is some beautiful hockey.InstatScout.com. This is where you could look at the different things that your players do. And this is Shai Buium, one of the prospects for Duckman's Domination. You can check out a lot of the different things. So big thanks to Instat and, of course, Fanalytica.tech for being our title sponsors here on in the UFHL. And certainly we appreciate their participation from a UFHL Now perspective. This is who is on the show today. Man, it's a massive lineup. We've got an owner, Ryan Malone, who is going to unveil the new Dynasty look. Can't wait for you to see that. And we have the boss, the commissioner, Andrea Charanduk, is going to drop by. Huge weekend for the UFFS platform with the UFBA franchise auctions. But Andrea and Andrea Ellis, the two Andreas, have something really cool cooking up for a little scavenger hunt on Innovation Island. And, of course, the insider, Larry Fisher, will be with me as well. And we'll get the duck call going later. That'll be something that I'll bring to you after those interviews. So let's get to it first. Our first guest of the day is going to be an owner unveiling a new logo in the UFHL. Ryan Malone, right after this.
This is UFHL Now with Dean Millard. Get in the game, where you own the game.
All right, Larry, this is going to be a jammed awesome show, and we're going to start it off with another jersey reveal, and we're going to have the owner of Dynasty on. Are you ready to take a look at the new Dynasty look?
I can't wait to see the new Dynasty look, Dean. Let's take a look at what Ryan Malone has rebranded Dynasty with a new logo and new color scheme. Can't wait to see it.
Here is the new look for Dynasty, and I absolutely love it. I love the Steve Stamkos. Makes me think of his days when he was ripping it up with the Sarnia Sting, and there you go, the dark uniforms. And wow, is that awesome. So let's bring in the man behind the design, owner Ryan Malone. First of all, Ryan, welcome back to the show. Take us through the design of the new look.
Yeah, well, obviously very excited to be back on here, fellas. Thanks for having me. And I think when I originally purchased the team, they kind of had the Hartford Whalers colors there with the dragon. So that was I thought maybe switch it up, represent the black and gold. And then I kind of got our family crest in there for the Malone family. So I feel we have a lot of generations in hockey, so the name and everything kind of went well with it. And then the black and gold definitely makes it takes it to another level, representing Pittsburgh.
Yeah, and that's obviously a big part of your family history. What was the reaction? What's been the reaction of you've sent this out to different people and started, quietly getting the Dynasty name out there as we revealed it here today?
Yeah, I think it's been great. I think, especially just some members of my family, when you kind of see that crest, it means a lot to us. But then, send it to Stammer. I said, Dynasty needs a new face of the franchise. I know we're ranked 31st, I think, in the league going into this year per our GM's discussions. So on paper, it looks like, we had to shake some things up a bit. So we're bringing in Stammer and Tex Killorn and a few of the guys. We got to change the attitude and environment on Team Dynasty. So it started with the logo, and we ended up hiring the great guys from Instat, Mr. Yates and Ed, his right-hand man, to help turn the ship around. So we're very excited to be part of the UFHL. And like I said, we're just excited to be part of it.
And obviously, you mentioned Stammer. What was his response? I know you kind of told us before that he was. It's going to take a little bit of warming up for him for the color scheme. Hey.
Yeah, winning 2 cups with the other colors. I'm pretty sure those are in his mind now forever, in his family's colors. But yeah, he felt obviously the Penguin colors, or maybe back to those junior glory days with Sarnia there. But it was pretty funny. I think. Even sending it to Marty, St. Louis, and just showing him, just for people to really grasp the concept where when you own one of these teams, you can, do these fun little cool things for your friends, or have your own little touch on it. So, I feel great to have a good team around me. I think now with Instat as our general managers and making some of those player moves to help us out. But it was fun to kind of recreate the logo and see how the year goes here.
And they were able to acquire, and yourself were able to acquire some of these players that you targeted, guys that you know in real life. You mentioned Stamkos, Killorn. I know you got lots of Minnesota guys on the roster as well, including guys like Jason Zucker, obviously, has been with the Minnesota Wild, Anders Lee, Charlie Coyle. There's lots of guys. I think you got all 3 Pitlicks, Rem, Tyler, and Rhett. So talk about those connections and what this means on that front, to be able to have a roster that really you can relate to.
Well, it helps a little bit. And I mean, obviously they're tremendous hockey players, and then looking at their fantasy value for their contracts are great pickups. But I think, with the Pitlicks, their dad played professional hockey for a long time, especially there in Florida. And then now we know he does these sweet hands, stick handling clinics, and he can actually stick handle both ways, left-handed and right-handed. Now he's taught so many kids. So I think just having some of these connections, and then hopefully letting them see what UFHL has to offer and the UFFS has to offer for them is just great, I think. And hopefully we can put some of these pieces together here this year, bring some of these guys on board.
Ryan, you had a full off season now to really dive in and find out just how serious this league is, and how much we really care about it. And we had some off-season owner meetings. It was so great to have you a part of it. And your opinion was certainly valued by myself, and I know Larry and a lot of other owners, because you are actually in the game. You have been in the game. You know what stats are hard, what stats are easy, what stats count. I'd love to hear from you and what the players think. What statistical categories do you think are valued? Do you think do not need to be there? And what do players think of statistical categories?
Yeah, I think for the most part, in the playoffs, I don't think anyone cares about any of their stats. So, but I think the regular season, and get those contracts, you kind of just look at the main ones there with the goals, assists, to just kind of see how you're doing. I know the one that everyone probably dislikes is kind of the plus minus. Sometimes you always get that one buddy coming back from the O-zone that doesn't want to go in the D zone, gets the line change, and then you get the minus. So sometimes, you're irrelevant to that stat. And I believe maybe in Europe, they've even taken it out in some of those European leagues. But that'd probably be the one to get rid of. And I think the other ones are all really good. I think with the fantasy sports, as I'm coming to learn, this is a professional fantasy, like legit professional fantasy owners and gamers that, have been doing this not just for a few years, but for, a decade or so. So it is interesting to see everyone's point of view. And I think when we're in some of those meetings and, trying to decide that point value for some of those things, it is difficult, but I think we've done a great job of making, those fourth line guys that do a lot of the grinding, a lot of hits, a lot of fights, to make those points just as relevant as some of the superstars, at least close the gap a little bit to say, so everyone is used and everyone is valued in our league and on each team, right? So you can't just load up on a bunch of goons or anything, but it helps balance out the guys that have the star power of, Connor McGregor, geez, Connor McDavid getting, 300 fantasy points. So you can kind of chip away at some different angles on some of those, guys. So I think the conversation has been good. I think, everyone wants what's best for the league, and we want a competitive league, but also to make sure everyone understands that everyone, not just the superstars, are needed here. So it's I think that's very important.
Yeah, absolutely, Ryan. And just like Dean said, your involvement in the league and the fact that you are hands-on now, what are some of your favorite parts of what's going on in the UFHL and in the UFFS in general? Because you are an ambassador for the Ultimate Franchise Fantasy Sports. How has that experience been? And how is the, not necessarily the gameplay side, but the big picture? How do you think that's being received?
I think good. At first, I think I just scared a lot of people because they thought I was spamming everybody, because Tony's like, whoever gets in early is, can really profit the most. So I think and it sounds too good to be true. So I think with the buildup of the Innovation Island is a pretty cool place to go check out where you can get some more information. We've talked to a few people with these NFTs to make sure we can have a very simple process moving forward so the guys can understand what options they have in kind of different tiers that they can possibly pick from. I'm still very super excited. I think when people kind of go to that one website and kind of really see what we're about, especially I think with the NFTs to set ourselves apart. And when people really understand the fans, I keep saying it, but I feel like people aren't hearing is like the person that owns the NFT can make a yearly revenue. So I think that's going to help a lot of fans and communities by getting involved. You can get a group of 4 buddies together to try to buy an NFT. But I think when we can kind of show that utility and why those NFTs are different and tied to these fantasy sports, that's just going to be a blockbuster moment, I think, when everyone kind of clicks with what we're doing here.
Yeah, and it's so cool. We see this jersey here with Steven Stamkos and his name on it. He knows about it. Pretty soon, not just, so many players will be getting involved and being like, wow, I'm actually getting passive income, whether I'm a current or past player, from fantasy gameplay. It is next level, and it's so much fun to be a part of it and make those decisions. I mean, you guys have been very busy in this off season, so has it felt like, players always sat around. You guys said you sat around on planes and talked about getting rewarded for fantasy play, but players also talk about, like, I would do this if I ran the team, or I would do that. Is that sinking in for you that you are doing that now, Ryan?
Yes, and I think I almost bit off a little more than I could chew probably at first. But yes, for them to see, and I think a lot of guys too are asking the question. Okay, they're already busy enough with their season and with their families, so it's like, okay, just trust us. Here's your NFTs. Let's ride. Let's see it through. I think that's the biggest thing is just them, when you continue to tell people you don't need money or anything else to sign up and we're going to make you money, it's too good to be true. So it's just putting those pieces together to letting people know that we're serious, we're real, we're here to help you and your families, to give back to already that hard work you put in to earn those stats. So I think that's, I'm so happy to be part of this and continue to watch it grow.
Larry, I'll give you the final word with Ryan.
Yeah, I was just going to ask Ryan, now that hockey season's upon us, you got predictions? Is Tampa going to three-peat in the NHL? USA going to win gold at the Olympics? What are you expecting out of this hockey season to come, both in the UFHL and obviously in the NHL and the Olympics?
Yeah, I think I would love to see Tampa three-peat. I think why not, right? Key pieces are there. Obviously, it's a tough journey, but you got to start saying it, and I'm sure those guys believe it. So it'd be great, and I think it'd be great for the sport to have that dynasty come together there in Tampa, and those guys can enjoy that obviously forever. It'd be great to see the U.S. Win gold medal. It's been a while, so that would be great to see in the Olympics. And I think just watching the Olympics in general, when you see Team Canada and these other teams come together, you just get to see hockey at the highest level, IQ level, and speed. It's just tremendous to watch. It's great for the game. It's great for the players. So I'm really looking forward to watching the Olympics there. And then our fantasy league, hopefully Dynasty, turns a few heads, moves up the rankings. You never know what might happen.
You bet. It's going to be a fun season. We're so happy you're not just an owner, but you're so involved in the platform as an ambassador. It's been awesome getting to know you. So thanks for joining us on the show today. Best of luck moving forward for Dynasty. And maybe Duckmans and Dynasty will work out another deal here in the next little while. It was a good one for both of us. But thanks so much for joining us today, Ryan.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot. Good luck.
You're watching the Ultimate Fantasy Sports Network. UFSN, your one-stop fantasy shop. Get in touch on Twitter at UFS Network. Email us, ufsn@uffsports.com.
All right, the hits keep on coming here on UFHL Now. Ryan Malone, Dynasty owner, unveiling a great look, and now we are very privileged to have the commissioner, Andrea Charanduk, joining us. Andrea, thanks very much for being a part on UFHL Now. And, man, this is going to be a really busy weekend. I know it's a busy weekend for UFBA and the franchise auctions for basketball, but Innovation Island is going to be packed with UFHL owners. Welcome to the show, and tell us a little bit about what you guys have going on with Innovation Island this week, the UFHL, and a scavenger hunt.
That's awesome. Thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here. We are having a scavenger hunt on Saturday in the Innovation Island. You have a chance to win one of your franchise's jerseys. So you come into the island, you find the scavenger list. We'll tell you where it is once you get there. And then you go through and just walk through the whole UFHL world there. All the offices, franchises' offices are there. There's different meeting rooms, there's different places to sit and chat, and there'll be different items to find throughout the whole floor of the UFHL world. So they have about 15 to 20 items. Once you find the items, you put them down on your list, submit them, and then if you get them all right, you get a chance to win one of your franchise's jerseys.
That's very cool, very interactive. And Dean, I'm the insider, but I don't know what's on the list. I don't know the item list. So I heard there's a question about my wardrobe, perhaps, but it's going to be a lot of fun to see the list and to see the owners engaging and really finding their way around the world. So big shout out to both Andreas, Andrea Charanduk and Andrea Ellis, who helped also with the setup of the scavenger hunt, and it's going to be a lot of fun tomorrow. And certainly the jersey giveaway, Andrea, I know we led off with Ryan Malone and the Dynasty jersey, which obviously you helped design and customize those uniforms, which looked amazing. me and Dean were both taken back by how cool and how the logo was great, but when you put it on the uniform, it just really pops that much more. But to have the physical jersey and the partnership we have with Maplewood Hockey, maybe just take us through that. And obviously this is the first opportunity to get your hands on a Maplewood Hockey jersey is through the Scavenger Hunt jersey contest giveaway. But just talk about the partnership with Maplewood Hockey and how franchises can now get physical jerseys.
For sure, yeah. Just to touch on the Dynasty jerseys, they are pretty cool. The yellow definitely pops on the black, and they look pretty sharp. Ryan did a good job there deciding what to put together. So yeah, Maplewood Hockey, they're out of Swift Current. They make custom jerseys they start a blank jersey. There's no NHL template or anything like that. You can start right from a blank jersey, and they'll design what anybody wants. They're out of Swift Current, as I said, so it's nice to partner with a fellow SAC company, and they're going to work with us one-on-one. They've been started. They launched February 2021, so they're a fairly new company. Dallas is the guy there, and he runs it, and he can tell from when we met him, he's a very attention to detail kind of guy. So these jerseys are going to look great. They're going to be NHL caliber type jerseys. If you check out their website, you can tell that they're elite brand of jerseys. They're very, very well done and great quality with all the stitching and tackle twill and stuff like that. So it's going to look great. It's very exciting to have a partner to create these jerseys that so the franchise can bring their jerseys to life.
I agree. I mean, I think the fact that you have found a company that will make custom jerseys and you don't have to order 23 is like finding the unicorn of jersey manufacturers. That just does not happen very often. So I think this is wonderful. I'm very privileged to have a Duckman's Domination jersey, but I can't wait to get one from the official jersey supplier. So I think this is just another way that we are making this league even better than anything else. I mean, you know, we're going into year 3, and I still remember the first night you and I talked, Andrea, when you started introducing this to me, and my head was spinning, and here we are now talking about an official jersey supplier. It's incredible how far we have come since that very first conversation, which I'm very glad we had.
I'm very glad we had it as well. It was a great conversation. There was a lot to explain then, and there's even more to explain now, and we've come quite a ways. And yeah, to have these jerseys, like you said, it is a unicorn type thing to find. We've been searching for a long time to see if anybody would make 1 or 2 jerseys for us, and it's very hard to find. But these Dallas at Maplewood is very exciting to work with.
And just in time for Christmas, Andrea, obviously, as we see here, franchises can order 6 or more jerseys at the $106 price range. And then if you want an individual jersey just for yourself or a family member, or maybe you want to get one for your GM for Christmas, if you're a franchise owner, you want to buy your GM a jersey, you're looking at $179 for an individual. And then obviously franchises place their orders, the order gets shipped to the franchise, and then they have the ability to resell and do their markups as they see fit to benefit, because franchises do get 90% of the net profit on merch sales. So it is a potential down the road as the fan bases grow and the followings grow and the league becomes more mainstream. We do envision merchandise being a revenue stream for franchises, and this is going to be a great first way to get involved. And like I said, just in time for Christmas, which is great. And also just in time for Christmas, Andrea, the World Juniors, the Ultimate Fantasy World Juniors. Maybe introduce us a little bit to what we have in store for the World Juniors and bringing dynasty leagues to international hockey.
Yeah, this is very exciting and something new, I think, that we're bringing to the fantasy hockey world. It's called the UFWJ, so the Ultimate Fantasy World Juniors. And it is going to be a dynasty league. So we will obviously do the very first draft. You're going to draft your whole roster, and you'll get to keep the players you draft until they are done with the World Juniors. So until they age out or until they make the NHL and they don't come back to the World Junior country team. And then the years after, we'll also have a draft every year, but the draft is just to fill the spots where you've lost players that have aged out or that have moved on or didn't make the team that year. So you kind of fill your empty spots each year in the draft after that. So the first year you're going to draft your whole roster, and then you keep the players until they're done with their World Junior teams. Something definitely new and unique to the fantasy hockey world, I think.
I think this is incredible. I mean, the fact that, first of all, you get to bid and own one of only 10 franchises, I believe, and unless the World Junior, I guess, decides to expand, and then you get to name a country. Like, it's one thing naming a franchise Duckman's Domination, but now I get to name my own sort of franchise as a country, and then just paying attention. I mean, there's the odd guy, and we're going to see some of them this year that are playing as underagers in Canada, but it happens a lot in other countries where you can have guys play for 2 or 3 years and always be active. I mean, the World Juniors is massive already. Andrea, I think what you guys are doing here is just taking this to a next level, which is basically what we do here at UFFS anyway. So I think this is great. How did you guys come up with this? Was it just like brainstorming one night, or was it something you'd been thinking about for quite a long time?
Yeah, for a while, Larry and I have talked about doing the Olympics and how we could do something like that. And then we figured that the World Juniors is always a great tournament. It's always entertaining. It draws a lot of people to it. So we thought we'd throw in the World Juniors too. I mean, it's a big tournament. It's worldwide. It's the chance to get people from all over the world to be part of it. So that'd be great if we could get people from Europe and all those countries that have those World Junior teams. It'd be wonderful. And yeah, you get to name your own country and create your own flag, and that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I hope we do get some international owners. Maybe the silent partner will make a return, Dean. Maybe we'll have a Russian World Junior franchise based out of Russia. But the other thing, on a more serious note, is the leasing possibility here for players, right? And the scouts always want more revenue. While a lot of the players, half the players that play are more in the World Juniors, some are going to be on franchises protected lists already, but the vast majority are still going to be available to scouts. Scouts register World Junior players every year leading up to the tournament. So incentive for them to register all the players that make the World Junior cut. But also for franchises that draft players that are owned by scouts, there will be a leasing system there. So a chance for scouts to earn some revenue from this UFWJ league throughout the years before they sell their prospects, auction their prospects to the UFHL. So it adds more revenue to scouts, and certainly a lot more gameplay. Like Andrea said, all eyes are on the World Juniors and this year's tournament with guys like Shane Wright and Matvey Mishkov. And, those are going to be the franchise players on these 10 franchises to start. And it's going to be a very exciting event. And Andrea, I asked Ryan about it as well, but looking ahead to the season, what are you most looking forward to from the UFHL perspective? Because we're only a couple weeks away now. Obviously, there's some busy weeks coming up, but it's got to be exciting that we're working our way through the owners' meetings. I know you've had such a big role there, helping, orchestrate and doing all the minutes and getting all the voting results, and you're tallying up the final meeting results now. But just talk about this off season and looking ahead to the new season in the UFHL, season 3.
Yeah, season 3 is going to be our first full season. Hopefully, all 82 games. We haven't had one of those yet since we started, so I'm excited to see how it goes for 82 games because we've been cut short both seasons that we've been active. So that's one of the things I'm looking forward to, is seeing a full season play out, all 82 games, and also seeing how everybody's trades play out. There were a lot of trades this offseason. So a lot of teams have changed their rosters. I'm excited to see how those trades affect each franchise. And yeah, it's just exciting to be able to watch hockey and follow along with the UFHL and see who's going to come out on top.
It is such a good point. It's odd. We'll have this first full season. I still remember the Corona Cup, which is how I ended up with that jersey. So we have come a long way. And, speaking of jerseys, it's going to be so great to be able to get our hands on it. I don't know if any of the Millard family is watching, but everybody's going to probably just get Duckman Domination jerseys this year for Christmas. Their names on it. Trish, I know, she's so ecstatic about getting a Duckman's Domination jersey. But I think it's just takes this to a next level. People can get on Innovation Island this weekend. Check it out. They can go see Larry's office. They can see Andrea's office, the commissioner. They can come visit Duckman's Domination, the Gators, check check out the boardroom and, of course, the Scavenger Hunt. So that will be posted on Innovation Island somewhere, and the details for where can people find that all out, Andrea?
The details for Scavenger Hunt, we sent out an email. We can find the details in Telegram. We'll keep reminding you to download Innovation Island and get in there. And then the Scavenger Hunt questions will be posted in the boardroom when you get there. So it's all going to be fun. Hopefully lots of people attend. We want to get a lot of people getting chances to win their jersey. And you're going to get people who get the jerseys, they're going to be blown away by the quality, I think. So.
Yeah, and so much fun on Innovation Island, which is going to be a big part of UFFS. Andrea, thank you so much for joining Larry and I here on UFHL Now. Just a terrific job this offseason. I know it's been sometimes like herding cats, but I think you guys have done a terrific job. And we're not done yet. Larry's got a little bit more work to do with the Insider segment coming up here on UFHL Now.
Time to get the scoop on the UFHL with our insider, Larry Fisher. He's had lines in the water all week long. What will he reel in for us today? Let's dive in and find out what's going on with the UFHL now.
All right, Larry, we've talked about some quiet weeks and maybe the calm before the storm or a little bit of a lull, but here we are. Training camp's underway. We're getting scrimmage reports from those guys that are and gals that are in arenas right now, watching. I wish they would go back to those old pinnies that they used to wear when we grew up playing hockey, and then that really is training camp. But also with comes that is activity in the Ultimate Fantasy Hockey League. And as the insider, you get to recap what was, compared to last week, a flurry of trades.
Exactly, Dean. Last week we had no trades in the UFHL. First time in a long time. First time in my memory that we went an entire week with no trades. This week, 5 trades in the UFHL. Business is picking up, as you said, Dean, with NHL camps starting. The preseason starts tomorrow night already. The first Battle of Alberta is on Sunday, which is also the first taste of this new Vancouver-Seattle Pacific Northwest rivalry. They play a preseason game for Seattle's first ever game on Sunday as well. So it's great to be able to talk about some actual on-ice hockey again, Dean, but still it's all about the off-ice moves here in the UFHL as franchises put the finishing touches on their opening night rosters. Obviously, they got to have a 23-man roster that's cap compliant, below the ceiling, above the floor. And that's what these next few weeks are all about is, contracts are still coming in as well, Dean, which is causing some franchises to adjust. But we could take a look at these 5 trades today and just kind of break them down a little bit, starting with this trade. And honestly, Dean, Philip Forsberg, as you know, was on the trade block for most of the offseason. Strong Island was looking to move him. He's a $6 million cap hit going into the final year of his contract, pending UFA next summer. The Bentley Jacks acquired Philip Forsberg. As you'll see, the Bentley Jacks they never rest. They're always busy, and they actually account for 3 of the 5 trades that were made this week. But they gave up Pius Suter, Kalen Addison, and Jeremy Poirier. So 2 promising defense prospects and a good young forward for more of a star forward in Philip Forsberg.
Yeah, this is interesting. By the way, we've renamed it. Instead of Kevin Bacon's 6 Degrees of Separation, it's now the Bentley Jacks 6 Degrees of Separation, sponsored by whatever luggage company we can find, because they're always making moves. It's the, they got to have turnstiles in that dressing room for guys coming in and out. But, Philip Forsberg, I like this player. I think he has more to give, and I think this is a really good move by the Bentley Jacks. And now Strong Island gets some really good prospects in this situation. I think this is a really good. I'm going to say gamble. It's weird because I think you're gambling on Philip Forsberg becoming a potential superstar because the skill is there. So I like this move from the Bentley Jacks for sure.
Anytime you got a contract year, a guy going into his final year with it, this is Philip Forsberg's chance at a massive payday. Mm-hmm. He wants to be in that where Elias Pettersson's going to go, where, Mitch Marner, those guys. He wants to be in that $8 to $10 million range, maybe even above $10 million. If he can put up a point per game type season, there would be a big bidding war next summer for Philip Forsberg. There'd be a big bidding war at the trade deadline for Philip Forsberg if Nashville's not in contention. So certainly I think the Bentley Jacks identified a guy who's primed to have a big year because it's a contract year. And the Bentley Jacks just kept it going, Dean. In order to bring Philip Forsberg in at $6 million, they obviously got to make some salary adjustments. And Sergei Bobrovsky, who is, we talked about one of the maybe one of the worst contracts in the NHL, the $10 million man as a goaltender who's likely going to be number 2 sooner than later in Florida with Spencer Knight emerging. They managed to move Sergei Bobrovsky, who in saying that is still an all-world caliber goaltender. When he's on his game and he's going to want to play in the Olympics this year for Russia, Sergei Bobrovsky is going to be a very motivated hockey player for Florida, and they look really good on paper, the Panthers do. So nonetheless, the Bentley Hawks shipped Sergei Bobrovsky to the Battlehawks as something of a contract dump or cap dump, along with 2 Seattle forwards, which is kind of funny because the Bentley Jacks are the Seattle Kraken in the UFHL, the UFHL's version of the Seattle Kraken as our expansion franchise. They had 2 forwards from Seattle's roster, Jonas Donskoy and Marcus Johansson. They're both packaged in this deal to the Battlehawks, so they lose that Seattle connection a little bit, along with Jack Drury, who's a promising prospect and a second-round pick. That's a lot to give up here in exchange for Thomas Greiss, who's obviously likely a platoon or backup goalie behind Alex Nedeljkovic now in Detroit. Brett Kulak, kind of a bottom pairing defender, and Zemgus Jurgensen, who's coming back after a missed season, hoping to rejuvenate his career in Buffalo. So as you can see, this trade is tilted in favor of the Battlehawks, but this is more about dumping the Sergei Bobrovsky contract and having to add those sweeteners.
I can't believe this contract has been traded twice already. We actually looked at, at one point, we looked at a Jeff Skinner Bobrovsky package back when we were looking at taking off the Skinner contract, and we just didn't go through. And then when Bobrovsky got traded and then gets traded again is interesting. Actually, we were also in conversations with Donskoy this week, so I'm not surprised to see him in that deal. But impressive to see that contract traded twice, and then the hits keep coming with trade number 3.
Yeah, so this one doesn't involve the Bentley Jacks, but it does involve Rock Republic and the Yetis. And this was the finishing touch for the Yetis. They came out and said they're ready to go with their opening night roster. They just needed to create a bit of cap space. Nikita Zadorov, who the Yetis actually acquired earlier this offseason, got about a $3.5 million cap hit. It was just a little too high for what the Yetis could accommodate this season. They were just slightly over the cap, so they swapped Zadorov for Mario Ferraro, who maybe a little bit more offensive player, a little bit more upside that way. But Zadorov, as we know, the hits category, the PIMS category, now a fights category, he's going to get a lot of those physical points. So they're probably pretty comparable in value, but just the salary that the cap hit that the Yetis needed to, I believe they squeaked under the ceiling, Dean, by a little over $3,000. So they're tight to the cap. They also take back Josh Ho-Sang, who is on a PTO in Toronto, possibility of being a depth player for the Leafs coming back from Europe. And they gave up Ryan McLeod, who's obviously perhaps going to be a roster player for the Edmonton Oilers, got a good look at the end of last season, and a second-round pick. So they gave up the better assets in McLeod and the second-round pick over Ho-Sang, but possibly got the better player and certainly the better cap hit in Mario Ferraro versus Nikita Zadorov.
Yeah, I agree bang on with that assessment. Ryan McLeod could be interesting, but he could be another guy who just falls into the bottom 6 and languishes on the bottom line. The Oilers are great at finding bottom 6 forwards, that's for sure. All right, how about Kamikaze and Rock Republic?
And another move by Rock Republic. Rock Republic, Dean, is one of these franchises that has a very deep protected list, and a lot of them are still waiver exempt this season, but a lot of them are in their last year of waiver exempt. They got about 6 players on their protected list that are going to need waivers next season if they don't open up 6 spots on the active roster. So they got a lot of bodies they got to move in and out here. And Isaac Lundestrom and Alex True were 2 players that are no longer exempt. They both require waivers this season. Rock Republic just realistically didn't have room for them, and also wanted that flexibility of having 2 active roster spots that they can move in and out, right? You can maximize your games played by getting those exempt guys, swapping them in and out every week. So I think they wanted to open up some spots on the active roster to do that. And Kamikaze is, Donnie Talk. He's just trying to get deeper and deeper. And here he adds 2 more young guys with some good upside. Alex True back in Seattle, where he played his junior with the Thunderbirds. Isaac Lundestrom getting more of an opportunity in Anaheim on a rebuilding team. So, and then you look at the return. Hugo Alnefelt he's playing in North America this year, making his North American debut. He was a highly touted goaltender coming out of Sweden. I believe 2nd, 3rd round pick. Tice Thompson, who's Tage's little brother, another big power forward like Tage's, and then a 2nd round pick there as well. So, but this really comes down to Rock Republic wanting that roster flexibility to be able to cycle in or rotate in waiver exempt guys, and these 2 guys were no longer exempt, so they had to either move on or take up full-time spots.
I like building up the young players. Certainly that's something that was part of our strategy. All right, let's wrap up this segment of trades with this minor trade here.
Yeah, the Generals send Austin Wagner to the Bentley Jacks, and we know the Bentley Jacks are Saskatchewan-based, and Brennan Kopp's in Regina, Austin Wagner, a former Regina Pat. So although they gave up 2 Seattle players being the Seattle equivalent in the UFHL, they did get a Regina Pats, so I think they broke even on the week. But Michael Kempny has obviously been out with injury. Sounds like he's coming back this season, possibly playing second pair with Justin Schultz in Washington. So Kempny could be an effective player for the Generals, who are looking like they might have some room on the blue line to beef up that blue line. So they're trying to bring in some more NHL caliber talent, and Austin Wagner, more of a depth forward, can head off to the Bentley Jacks. And again, the Bentley Jacks save a little bit of cap space there.
All right, so some interesting moves this week, and more rosters are going to be set and then unset as some other deals happen, and we'll be talking about some of those deals. But I love this part of when we do the insider segment, because this really is getting inside the game. And this week, we're discussing a conversation that started out with one team responding to another, and then a lot of people jumped in on it, and I absolutely loved it. It made me laugh. It made me think, what the heck is Arnie talking about? But in a good way. But take us through this UFHL Telegram trash talk.
Exactly, Dean. The trash talk is picking up in the UFHL as well, which tells us the season's that much closer. But basically what happened here, Dean, is Tom Hutchinson, the North Stars general manager, came out and said, there's been a lot of interest in Jason Robertson and Jani Kukkonen. They aren't on the block. They're considered building blocks for the North Stars franchise, who are likely going to be a lottery team again this season as they try to get some traction moving up the standings. And basically said, stop lowballing me for Jani Kukkonen. We know he's a promising player. He's one of our better players. Come with an A offer or leave us alone kind of thing. And Arnie and the Royals were obviously one of the franchises that were interested in Jani Kukkonen. So Arnie comes back and basically calls them out, saying, why are you building around, in Arnie's opinion, a depth piece in Jani Kukkonen, who's kind of a complimentary winger to Jack Hughes. A great spot if he's in the lineup with Jack Hughes, but basically, Arnie's quote was, I am not knocking anybody, but to sit here and think depth pieces are untouchable will result in less than mediocre results. Well, that sounds like a knock, right? Yeah. So obviously the North Stars took offense, and the owner, Cameron Turner, jumped in defense of his GM, Tom Hutchinson, and basically said their value to a rebuilding team is much higher than it would be to a contender, and no need to take shots at our strategy. Because it didn't include trading Robertson or Kukkonen to you. It is our business how we run our franchise. And basically said, you bombarded us with poor offers for weeks. So you obviously wanted those players in some regard. Yeah. And then, like I said, it went back and forth. Brennan Kopp jumped in there from the Bentley Jacks, said, I wouldn't say you aren't knocking anyone, but then give specific examples of how they would keep a depth player in your mind. So it was quite the exchange. And it ended, Dean, with the Kryptonites GM Dan Nadeau saying he would rent a barn if we need to do the Burke Lowe style shenanigans. Tickets will be available for 50 SCO. So it was a real back and forth and a lot of fun there. And also, Dean, I thought that the end too, the way it ended off, they chirping each other for a good full day. And I think maybe there was some emotion there at the start, just because like Tom said, normally these DMs don't come, or this is in DM. It's not on the public chat or the group chat. So he was a bit taken back by that. But I believe where they ended off, Dean, was they were negotiating over whether it was going to be In-N-Out burgers or Krispy Kreme donuts that were going to be packaged with Yanni Kekkonen to seal the deal.
I just like that. Like, I don't mean to knock anybody, but I'm totally going to knock the decision you are making. Listen, it's amazing how many different GMs you end up having when you make a move or you say something that people don't agree with. The amount of GMs I had when we picked up William Lagesson off waivers was staggering. I didn't know there was that many people affiliated with Duckman's domination, but that's great. And I loved it. And the Low Burke thing, I lived through that, Larry. I had the fortunate, or you could call it unfortunate, job of covering the Oilers during the Decade of Darkness. That was the best part of the Decade of Darkness. I was there and was like, wow, there's something better to talk about than this terrible power play or the fact that these kids are getting rushed or whatever. Low Burke, Mac T was the best. And this kind of had a little bit more of a fun feel than maybe some of the Arnie and Colin Mills interactions that happen on Telegram, where we do know there is that Low Burke stuff. This turned out a little bit more fun, but it's good for the game. And you know what? Arnie is a great personality. I don't agree with saying I'm not going to knock you, but I'm going to knock you. But it made me laugh. So bravo to everybody for spicing up our week.
Absolutely, Dean. Lots of rivalries coming to the surface in the UFHL now going into season 3, right? So these a lot of these GMs, a lot of these owners have gotten that report. They know each other a little better, and they know where to pick their spots. Which franchises can you have this playful banter with? But I do think there was some tense moments there. I do think there was some emotion involved. I think the North Stars took offense to, I'm not going to offend you, but here I'm going to take a shot at you. So I think they took offense, and I think I'm sure there was DMs going back and forth as well behind the group chat, but cooler heads prevailed, and Yanni Kekkonen remains a North Star as of today, Dean.
All right, we got about 5-6 minutes left in this segment, so let's go with some PTOs, and then we'll get into some signings.
Yeah, Dean, with training camp starting, you knew that the PTOs were coming. We had a handful of them already last week's show, but there's another dozen or so around the NHL, but some names of note here. James Neal and Michael Frolik are in St. Louis. Nikita Gusev is in Toronto. Alex Galchenyuk's in Arizona. Eric Gustafson's with the Islanders. Bobby Ryan is back in Detroit on a PTO. Alex Chason's in Vancouver, and Tyler Ennis is in Ottawa. So some established NHLers and some guys looking for a fresh start elsewhere that are coming off buyouts or whatever the case. And then rolling into the RFA signing spree, Dean, this is another thing we teased last week. We knew it was coming. Training camp starting. These guys want to play. They don't want to sit out. So the big one was Kirill Kaprizov in Minnesota, 5 years at $9 million. Red Army was basically expecting that type of deal. That's the number that was reported earlier in the summer as a $9 million offer. Rasmus Dahlin in Buffalo got $6 million over 3 years for the Bentley Jacks. That was one of their big acquisitions they were waiting on. And there's another contract, Dean, that forced them to move out or dump that Sergei Bobrovsky contract because they had to cut some salary when Rasmus Dahlin was signing and they were acquiring Philip Forsberg, two $6 million men. You got to make that room somewhere in a cap league. Robert Thomas of the Mystics, 2 years in St. Louis. Nolan Patrick of the Assassins, formerly of Duckmans, 2 years in Vegas, reunited there with Kelly McCrimmon from their Brandon days. And Kaylor Yamamoto of the Grizzlies takes a 1 year bridge type deal or a 1 year extension. And I think either Kaylor Yamamoto or Jesse Puljujarvi are going to get paid next summer. They'll both be RFAs. So that'll be interesting to see what Edmonton does and whether either or both of them are signed long-term as part of that core.
Yeah, making the same amount of. Sorry, they're just making the same amount of money. Yamamoto and Puljujarvi going into this season, so it's a huge show me for both of those guys. Like we talked about with Philip Forsberg before as a contract, and just the Kaprizov deal. That it's so interesting, you know. A North American player might not have been able to use the KHL to his advantage in contract negotiations, which he did being a Russian player, and gets a massive cap hit on short term. That is brilliant negotiations by the Kaprizov camp in this offseason. Like, they win the offseason.
Yeah, and Minnesota waited so long for Kirill Kaprizov to come over, and then they finally got him here, and then there was almost a risk of a holdout or contract dispute after just one season where he comes in and blows the doors off the NHL, wins the Calder Trophy as Rookie of the Year. And then that threat, like you said, of going back to the KHL is always there. So good for Billy Guerin to get that deal done. He's trying to establish a real core there in Minnesota and build around the young guys. And Kaprizov is the face of the franchise, so they kind of had to get that deal done. Speaking of deals getting done, Dean, there were some goalies getting extensions, guys that are sort of budding starters. Elvis Merzlikins of the Stallions got a 5-year, $5.4 million cap hit with Columbus. And Cal Peterson of the Assassins got a 3-year extension at $5 million with Los Angeles, which puts him basically at even cap hit with Jonathan Quick there. And then two other defensemen, Dean, that we haven't talked about was Big Z, Zadino Chara of the Snipers, has signed with the Islanders, which was cool. His career's coming full circle. Back where he started with the Islanders. I think he played his first game with the Islanders, Dean, before Matt Barzal was born. So that tells you how long Zdeno Chara has been around. And Sami Niku of the Battlehawks, Dean, has found a new home just this morning. He signed a 1-year, 2-way contract with Montreal after becoming an unrestricted free agent when his contract was mutually terminated by Winnipeg. After that didn't work out for him. And then last but not least, Dean, the NHL injury report. That's one of the big things at the start of training camp is seeing who's all hurt. And there's some big names on the sidelines to start this season. Jack Eichel, we expected of the Snipers. He failed his physical. And Buffalo stripped him of the captaincy as well. But he's sidelined indefinitely. And now they're talking he may even miss the Olympics in February. And Carey Price, also of the Snipers, also failed his physical and will miss camp. He's recovering from knee surgery. And so, Dean, the poor Snipers, Alex LeBlanc and his family, could be starting the season without the two new faces of their franchise. They went out, as soon as they bought the franchise, they acquired Jack Eichel and Carey Price. Neither of them are ready to go for season one. Mike Hoffman in Montreal, his first season there of the West Coast Express, lower body injury. Sidney Crosby, Dean, of the Brutes, will miss at least 6 weeks after wrist procedure. And the Brutes are also missing Shea Weber. He's expected out the entire season, might be facing retirement. So I think the Brutes could be in a tough spot to try and maintain their playoff position in the Orr division without Crosby and Weber. And then if Jenny Malkin, Dean, of the Mystics, will miss at least 2 months recovering from a knee surgery. So Pittsburgh is without Crosby and Malkin to start the year. Kevin Hayes of the Crypto Knights and of the Philadelphia Flyers out 6 to 8 weeks after abdominal surgery. Duckman's Domination will be without Phil Kessel. He's sidelined by a foot injury. The Warriors are without Devin Taves. He had off-season shoulder surgery. And then these last 2 points, Dean, obviously the unvaccinated. We didn't know how many players were unvaccinated or who they were going to be. Tyler Bertuzzi of West Coast Express and Josh Archibald of the Crypto Knights are among the unvaccinated players in the NHL that'll miss significant time. That'll impact their fantasy situation. And Evander Kane of the Ice Vikings, not welcome at San Jose's camp. The league is investigating more allegations there. They haven't said what, but he was cleared of gambling allegations, and he's still in hot water with the league, and so much so that San Jose said, don't even bother coming to camp. So going to be interesting on that front, but that's a lot of quality players that are on the sidelines to start this season.
The Evander Kane and the Jack Eichel are just two awful stories. They're just terrible. The way that the Sabres are dealing with Jack Eichel and like that just reeks of you know, I don't know. It's just terrible desperation. And obviously the Evander Kane, depending on what other allegations. But those are two things that just the NHL does not need hanging around and having talked about with their training camps. But unfortunately, the Sabres story is almost unprecedented.
Yeah, that one's not going away anytime soon, Dean. And it's going to be interesting what happens there. People are asking me, as sort of a fantasy expert or insider, where do you draft Jack Eichel in a single season league? And you know, he's almost off limits right now because if he gets this disc surgery that he wants, it's never been done on an active NHL player. I believe he would only be the second ever active pro athlete to get this surgery. Very high risk surgery. You know, he could come out. So nobody really wants to trade for him if he's going that route because it's such a high risk. They want the surgery done and then they'll talk trade. But Buffalo doesn't want to do that because what if he is damaged goods after the surgery? They just lost out on a massive asset that was the face of their franchise. So what happens next with Jack Eichel is going to be fascinating. But for now, he's back on the couch, going to be watching probably every team but Buffalo when the puck drops on this season.
No kidding. And speaking of watching, a lot of people are going to be on Innovation Island tonight and all weekend. There we look at, that's the Duckman's Domination offices. We have the UFHL boardroom, and we have the UFBA Ultimate Fantasy Basketball Association franchise auctions this weekend. Huge event on Innovation Island. People can check out at UFF Sports on Twitter, or at the UFHL, or at the UFBA _ to find out how they can download Innovation Island and get in on the action with us. It really is a lot of fun. You and I were on there last night. We've got a great Ultimate Fantasy League baseball display. It's really cool, isn't it?
Yeah, the UFLB booth is awesome, and just the expo hall in general. Get on there and check that out tonight. The auditorium will be where the actual auction or the live show will take place tonight, but then everybody will be heading over to the expo hall. Bit of a trade show throughout the weekend. A lot of other events happening. As we know, the Scavenger Hunt with the UFHL is going to be a ton of fun with Andrea Charanduk putting that on. So can't wait to see. I hope there's a good turnout, Dean, because I think people are missing out if they don't take advantage of Innovation Island. And this is the future of fantasy, and Innovation Island is definitely part of that.
And you can get your hands on an Ultimate Fantasy Basketball Association franchise starting tonight. So I know we'll both be busy with that stuff. Thanks, as always, Larry, and enjoy the weekend.
Thanks, Dean.
This is UFHL Now with Dean Millard. Get in the game, where you own the game.
All right, man, what an awesome, busy show, and so much entertainment coming out of the Ultimate Fantasy Hockey League. It's just really, really is the best. All right, time for the duck call. This is just a little rant, sometimes positive, sometimes negative. We'll see what the situation is. It's a positive one now, though. I'm really excited about where things are going, and I'm really excited to promote what's happening on Innovation Island this weekend. Make sure you get into our Telegram chats for the Ultimate Fantasy Hockey League. The instructions are everywhere. Follow the Twitter handles, the UFHL or at UFF Sports. You'll be able to find it. Download Telegram. I really implore all the owners and GMs and scouts to get on there and check it out. We are a high-stakes, high-level fantasy hockey platform. But we need to have more than just rich owners filling everybody's coffers. We need to have ways to generate more income. This is going to be one of those ways. We're going to be able to do some really cool things with athlete interactions as well. So to get the Scavenger Hunt details, right there, that's where you go, UFHL Boardroom. So please get on Innovation Island this weekend. Check it out, whether you want to buy a franchise or not. It is something that we will be doing a lot of stuff on. We will be bringing in more revenue streams as this goes, and it's not just going to be living off your fantasy winnings or non-winnings, as in the case of Duckman's domination. All right, that is going to wrap things up for me on this episode. Big thanks to Andrea Charanduk, the commissioner of UFHL, and of course to Ryan Malone, the owner of Dynasty, for that gorgeous new look. Beautiful. Speaking of that, how about that logo for the Ultimate Fantasy World Junior? It's been a great show. Big thanks to Andrea. Big thanks to Ryan, of course. Thanks, as always, to Larry Fisher, our UFHL insider. Scavenger Hunt this weekend on Innovation Island. Make sure you check out the details. Check out the details of the UFBA auction. And we will have an Ultimate Fantasy League booth on Innovation Island. It's all decked out. We announced our first NFT, Ian Kinsler, on Thursday. Man, exciting times ahead to steal an idea from a sticker. Thanks so much for joining me on the program today. Have a great weekend.
UFHL Now is produced by DM Productions. To get in touch, head to www.podcastalley.ca.